Woo! Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here, the Kayak Fishing Show live, as always brought to you by all these wonderful sponsors scrolling across the bottom there. Seaguard, Jackson Kayak, Yak Attack, Siegler Reels, Band of Anglers, Ray Marine, NRS, and Torpedo, and of course Ballast Point Brewing Company. All I'm drinking water. Hope you guys are all doing good. Sorry I missed the live show on Tuesday. If you're new to this, we do live shows every Tuesday and Thursday, airing old episodes of the show. I'd forgotten I actually had a doctor's appointment for my shoulder. So sort of making progress there. My shoulder, I went and saw the doctor and he decided, yes, my shoulder after surgery now is frozen. I have been going to much more aggressive therapy, which seems to be helping. But he gave me an injection in my shoulder, and then I had physical therapy yesterday. I don't know if anybody's ever tried it. I did cupping, where they put these suction cups on your body. So I've got like 7 hickeys on my back that are about that big around. So that's kind of a weird thing. But honestly, I don't know if it's the aggressive physical therapy or the shot, but I actually have got a little bit more motion in my shoulder to the point that I actually washed my wife's car this morning. So yeah, it's feeling a little better. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it goes in the right direction, because tired of being in pain all the time. I got a couple comments here. Hey, Liam, you made it to first place today. Hope you're doing well. Mitch checking in from Ontario, and Jeremy Parker also from Ontario, South Mountain, Ontario. And here we have Facebook user Jim. What's going on? So if you are watching on the Kayak Fishing Show group page, and you do have 3 ways to watch this. You can watch it on the group page. You can watch it on the regular Facebook page, or you can watch it at Kayak Fishing Tales, which is our YouTube channel. If you're watching on the group page, in the description of the video at the bottom, it will say, click this to give StreamYard permission to use your name. So if you don't do that, it comes up as Facebook user. You do have to give it permission. So that's why it shows up that way. Gene Wilson, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Hope things are good in Florida and you keep catching those monster bass you're always catching. Jeremy says, do yoga. It helped me with frozen. I guess frozen, if you had a frozen shoulder as well. Right now, I'm physically, I'm a wreck. I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I've had 5 shoulder surgeries. This is the 2nd one on this shoulder, 3 on this one. And I'm also waiting to have some stuff done with my back, which I had back surgery many, many years ago. So yeah, just getting old, falling apart, but keep on trucking. I just want to get back on the water. I want to get back to fishing. I want to get back in my kayak. I want to get back on my boat and get back at it. I don't know if anybody is in the fishing industry, if you're going to ICAST, but I did just book my tickets to ICAST, so I will be there. So if you're going, let me know and we can hook up, have a beer or something. It's always a good place to hang out. That's really why I'm going, is just to kind of meet with some people, meet with sponsors, and to see people that I tend to see once a year at ICAST. Mitch posted my Blue Sky Boatworks compare on your Facebook. Yeah, I saw that. I have wondering if you had a chance to get out on your new Blue Sky yet, and if you're liking the new drive and all that. I know there were some comments on there, people thinking that the hulls were different. They are not. I don't know that a whole lot has changed on the Blue Sky other than the drive. But the new drive is obviously supposed to be a huge, huge improvement. So hopefully that is true. So this today's episode is again from season 3. Season 3, episode 10. We used to do 13 episodes a season, and we did that for 13 years. This was part 2 of our trip to a remote island in Alaska with our good friend Howard McKim of Ketchikan Kayak. I've kind of lost contact with Howard, so I'm not sure what he's doing nowadays, but he was definitely an outdoorsman. He loved that remote stuff. And so he would set up, he would run tours. Basically, his business was more or less running tours for people on the cruise ships that came in through Ketchikan. And then he would do specific other trips for kayak anglers. And this was one they would do out to this remote island, and they would set up kind of a base camp, and then they would shuttle people in there. But it was quite a long haul out there. And I mean, you can see it's a kind of a beautiful little spot there. That's the beach. Our tents were actually just up above this. We got just brutalized. If you saw part 1, we just got beat up by weather to the point, like, I mean, you'd be in your tent, and if you had to go to the bathroom, you were not getting up out of your tent in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. So you just kind of got out in the little vestibule area and took care of your business, and then dealt with it the next day. You were laying in the tent, and you would hear trees falling in the woods out behind you. Just hoped that one of those trees was not going to fall on the beach. And we did hear, go out back into the woods during the day and see some of these upturned trees. I mean, it was just crazy, crazy weather. And we spent a lot of time. Thankfully, Howard's friend, and I feel bad, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who was there helping us. He was an expert at setting up tarps, because we spent a lot of time sitting underneath these tarps, just trying to stay out of the wind and, stay by the fires, try to stay dry and stay warm, and just swapping stories, drinking a bit, maybe a little bit other stuff, because it's just like we were just under these tarps for a long time. We made some lures out of bottle caps and other stuff we found, and then we went out fishing with them once we finally got some clear weather. But it was just one of those really cool, fun adventures that we wish we could have had a little bit more time fishing, because when we were able to fish, the fishing was really good. I know that I pulled up a pretty good size halibut, and there was one that it looked like the whole bottom was came up behind it. I mean, it was just a massive, massive halibut. And just like I said, I just wish we had more time to fish, because we just couldn't, because the weather was so bad. Looks like there's a Rudy. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. And Alan Thompson from Edmonton. We have the whole Canadian contingent is checking in today. I always love to see where people are from when you check in with us. So please, if you're watching for the first time or anything, just let us know where you're watching from. We get viewers from all over the world, which is, I guess, the really cool thing about the internet and our life and times. I know when I first started kayak fishing, it was a very, very small community. I mean, it kind of birthplace of kayak fishing really was here in Southern California. And then you started seeing it grow around the U.S. and then into more central U.S., where the bass fishing has now become so popular. It really did start out coastally. And then now it's just kayak fishermen all over the world. It's absolutely amazing and so cool. Where when I first started this show, even, to do a shoot, just trying to hook up with other kayak anglers or get kayaks to a destination was tough. But now with kayak anglers in so many more destinations, it makes it so much easier. It's just amazing. And the growth of the sport over the years has been fantastic. And companies that address kayak anglers' needs, like Yak Attack, for instance, those things didn't exist when I started kayak fishing. We were making all of our own accessories, all our own gear. and now you can buy it, at a better quality than some of the stuff that we were doing. At least the better than some of the stuff that I was making. So like I said, that's one of the cool things. And then, just the revolution of the fishing kayak compared to back then, where you were basically taking a kayak and making it so you could fish off of it, where now the kayaks are designed to fish off of, which is just so awesome. Is there another comment here? There's a weird thing on my screen here that's stopping me from seeing the comments completely. So I don't, Tangier Sound, Maryland. So, thanks, Rudy. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, I love to see where people are checking in from. So again, I didn't go back and watch this episode. I generally don't. I kind of like to just sit back and watch it again with you guys. If you do have any comments or questions, we always love to hear them. And, whether it's on topic of the show or other things, I'm always happy to answer questions or just, get a story, anything like that. Remember that the sponsors on these old episodes are definitely different than the more current sponsors. And I appreciate all of them, the ones in the past and the ones that are current. Seagar has been with us from day one, so we really appreciate them. Ray Marine, or not Ray Marine, I'm sorry. Standard Horizon, our radios, they've also been with us since the very, very beginning. So we really appreciate them. So if you get a chance to let those sponsors know that you watch it, you know about their stuff through us, that helps too. And again, I always ask you guys during these shows, if you can share these episodes with your friends, share the channel, share the YouTube channel, Kayak Fishing Tales. Make sure you subscribe and hit for notifications, so you get notified more regularly of when we go live. Also on the group page, you're more likely to be notified of when we go live, much more so than just on the Kayak Fishing Show page. I have the most followers on the Kayak Fishing Show page. We have 172,000 or something. But, and I've said this before, we get sent out to less than 1% of our followers. So, but if you're in the group, you're much more likely to be notified. If you're on the Kayak Fishing Tales YouTube channel, you're more likely to be notified. So if you want to make sure you're notified of the shows, go that route. It works much better for you. But again, if you're watching on the group page, make sure that you hit that in the description, hit the button that says give StreamYard permission to use your name. That way we just know who we're talking to. So with no further ado, like I said, this is season 3, episode 10. Let's get this one rolling, and please bring on the questions, comments, any of that.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, I'm with a literal giant in kayak fishing, Howard McKim, and we're braving the wilds of Alaska. Howard's been telling me for years about this trip, and I've always wished I could do it. Finally, the stars have aligned. Joined by his partner in crime, Brian, we're getting out of range and out of touch and roughing it on the secret island somewhere far away from city life. It's been 3 days, and we've been literally pummeled by rain. But I think my luck is about to turn and the weather's gonna clear. Stick around. This is gonna be, damp?
At the forefront of any sport, you inevitably find someone pushing the limits. While kayak fishing has been exploding in popularity, Jim Sammons has been doing just that.
Yeah, look at these. Nice.
From the seat of his ocean kayak, Jim challenges the world's top game fish and puts his kayak fishing skills to the ultimate test.
Never fought a kayak, have you, fish?
From freshwater to saltwater, Jim's mission is simple: to discover the best fishing destinations in the world and prove that anything is possible from a kayak.
That's a healthy fish. Oh, nice!
And the little one got away. Ocean Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident and Ultra series of fishing kayaks. Ex Officio, made to adventure. Seagar, always the best fishing line. Mustad hooks stay sharper longer. Hook One kayak fishing gear. Get everything you need to get out there and hook one. Scotty, the way to fish. And the Heliconia Press, cutting edge outdoors media. This week on Ocean Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show with Jim Sammons, Jim is hooked up with his friend Howard McKim for a remote trip in the wilds of Alaska.
I'm Howard McKim, owner of Ketchikan Kayak Company. We're about 40 miles outside of Ketchikan, Alaska, down here in southeast Alaska on the southern portion in the rainforest and on the open coast here. So at our base camp where we run 5-day trips every season.
The first day of fishing was amazing. The guys spent the day on calm seas hooking monster lingcod and local rockfish.
Look at that. Nice big lingcod. Want to get him back in the water, release him. What a good fight. And he just easily just starts kicking his tail and swims away.
We've had rough weather all week. It's been off and on. It feels more like November, December to me. But as it is out here, you deal with what you're given, and we've made the most of it. Even in rough water, we've still had some incredible fishing.
The fishing was so easy, they decided to substitute their store-bought lures with a few they cobbled together from stuff in camp.
Gonna put a little weight up ahead of it. Hopefully that thing will just get up in the current.
That only seemed to make the fish bite harder.
I hope that this letter finds you well. Dear son Johnny.
Fishing the edge of drop off, went out to about 160 feet. Dropped down my custom Jim Sammons signature edition special Alaska lure. And I got myself a nice little yellow eye here.
But that night, the wind picked up and the rain really began to fall, putting the camera gear at risk and making it impossible to fish.
Well, if you got to sit out a storm, this is a way to do it. This is pretty comfy.
Gotta wait out the snow before we get back to work.
I forgot about the
3
boomerang
days of
we
solid
made.
Rain since we left Jim and his crew, and the sound of rain on the tarp and lack of movement has started to wear on their nerves.
Howard, for a second there, you look like you're actually going to go do something.
Thought about it for just a moment, and then it started raining again. Just gonna have to see for a little while.
There's only 2 days left on the island, and the guys have yet to catch any halibut for dinner. As they wake up on the dawn of the 5th day, the sky's clear, and we finally get to fish.
Nice to be free of the tent.
When we come back, be prepared for all the halibut you can handle.
I've got like a 30-pounder here, maybe more, and a giant one. Look at coming right up next to me.
So, yeah, like I said, we were just watching that brought back memories. I mean, you're killing time. You're stuck under this tarp, pouring rain, and just whatever, scavenging stuff on the beach when it would clear up for a few minutes. So, like I said, we were making fishing lures out of that. Came across like a inner tube or something like that, and made a slingshot with it. And so then we have a little contest shooting stuff with our homemade slingshot. What else we do to kill time? Oh, what is best toasted over an open campfire of the food that you brought with you, of your snacks. And we tried everything. What was it? I mean, we had like cookie. Will back then. I don't think he's so much now. He has become a health food and nut and exercising all the time. But Will has a pretty crazy sweet tooth, so we'd always have cookies and all kinds of stuff like that. So we'd try those. we had one of those fish cookers, that you kind of squeeze together and then hold over the fire. And the things that we tried that were really good were, those peanut butter filled pretzels. Those things are really good because the peanut butter gets kind of warm and the outside gets a little more crispy. Really good. Chips Ahoy cookies, on the other hand, absolutely horrible. They almost become like have a toxic chemical taste to them after you warm them over a fire. My favorite thing that we cooked over the fire was fig Newtons, because the whole figgy part in the middle, the jelly-ish part, just get nice and really warm, and the outside would get super crispy and toasty. Those were amazing over the fire. Like I said, there was a lot of killing time and doing funny stuff just to keep from going crazy, because you're under this tarp, and the sound of the rain on the tarp constantly, the sound of the rain on your tent constantly, start to drive you crazy. So you had to do whatever you could to make for fun. Rudy asked me, when am I getting back to filming so I can come and fish in Chesapeake? Rudy, I'm not sure, man. I got to have some meetings at ICAST to see if I am going to go shooting again. I got to get healthy. The reality is I cannot do anything right now until I get this shoulder and my back straightened out, because I can't sit in a kayak. I certainly can't pull on a fishing rod. I can't paddle. So I don't know. Hopefully, but hopefully my sponsors are going to be patient with me, and because I haven't been able to shoot for a couple of years now. But we're hoping. Rudy, you mentioned your Dragonfly. Yeah, those things were awesome. It's a shame that Ray Marine discontinued the Dragonfly, because it was a good entry level, really good quality entry level kind of fish finder. I know they have the, I think this is an Element. Yeah, so this is the new, what I guess they would have as an entry level. Can you get my cover off here? This is a big one, but so the Element, which is a great unit, but it's not entry level. It's definitely more money, but it's not as expensive as the Axiom. But still, amazing technology that are in fish finders now. Yeah. And also, anything is possible from a kayak. Yeah. And it's become crazy. It's actually funny, the publicity that they're getting for Los Buzos for them catching the blue marlin the other day. I've landed 49 marlin from a kayak. But the blues and blacks, theirs was a black, I'm sorry. That's a whole nother animal. I have some comments on that fish, but it's a great fish, no doubt about it. So can't call it into question at all, but we've had fish similar to that. They leadered that fish very quickly, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that the fish never really doesn't know you're there that much. It's not fighting that hard because you're not putting that much weight on it. So you're not turning the fish. You're not bringing that fish to you. You're bringing your fish to you're bringing your kayak to the fish, which we had the same thing happen with the black marlin in Panama. My buddy Craig hooked it, and he literally within 15 minutes he's like, I can wind myself to this fish anytime. I could have leadered that fish anytime at all. But can you consider that a landed fish? Because there's no way in hell that you are touching that fish, because it is still so hot, so green. As soon as we put full weight of it, because it was getting dark and we just jumped like they did, they handed the rod off to a boat. We jumped in, or we tied off to the boat. And once it felt that full weight of the boat, that fish just peeled off line, jumped, straightened the hook. In their case, I guess it may have broken off. But so was it truly landed? It's hard to say. It's an amazing catch and an amazing experience. I won't take anything away from it at all. But, to say you landed it, that's kind of a tough one. It's still amazing though. And I, props to him for even to have a fish that big jumping that close to your kayak is sketch. And until you've done it, you have no idea how crazy it is. and how exciting it is. And you know, the rush of adrenaline is absolutely amazing. And Los Busos is just a freaking cool place to go and to be able to do that in a great operation. I've said it over and over. I mean, if you want a place that is fully dialed in for kayak anglers and have the chance to catch fish like that, I don't think you're going to find any place better than Los Busos. Dave asked, when is my custom lure going to be available? We're still working on getting our trademark on it and everything. So just stand pat on that. We'll have them soon. Aaron, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us. Ramon from Puerto Rico, how are you, man? Welcome to come here again. I need to get it. I mean, that's definitely top of my list of going back to places once we get back to shooting, is back to Puerto Rico. Like I said, that was the place that we were totally intended to go. And then once COVID and the other issues that were happening in Puerto Rico, and of course, you know, losing my friend Omar down there, it just like everything just back burner. But hopefully, if I do get back to shooting, Puerto Rico is definitely top of the list of places I want to go back to, because just the inshore tarpon fishing, the offshore fishing is just an amazing place, and it's so easy to get to. Excuse me. Anyway, let's keep this episode rolling. Come on. These are these commercial breaks that are built into the episodes. See, there's a marlin.
Ocean Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is
Much
brought to you
smaller
in part
marlin.
by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident and Ultra series of fishing kayaks, and the Torque, which features a removable Minn Kota motor.
Of the billfish, I think striped marlin are probably the best one to catch off of a kayak. Sailfish, it's kind of a little too easy to get them too close to the boat really quickly. You know, the Atlantic sailfish are a little bit different. They're very small, but the Pacific ones, you can have a fairly decent sized fish jumping around your kayak very quickly because it is easy to turn their head. The blues and blacks are just so big and so crazy. You just end up having, if you end up having can have a really long fight on them, or like I said, you can just end up winding yourself to a green fish. But the striped marlin, they tend to fight out over there, and then you can reasonably land them. You know, put your hand on the bill, bring them up. So that's why of the bill fish, striped marlin are definitely my favorite ones to catch. Just thought I'd throw that in there since that we just had the marlin jumping there.
Check them out at oceankayak.com. This week, Jim Sammons has traveled to Alaska for a trip with legendary kayak angler Howard McKim.
So we're out here in southeast Alaska. Ketchikan Kayak Company putting on a remote 5-day kayak fishing trip. We're down near the Canadian border on the open coast. We got some great little islands here that we camp on.
Howard McKim is the owner and operator of the Ketchikan Kayak Company, a top outfitter specializing in paddling, eco tours, and kayak fishing.
For me personally, the kayak represents simplicity. Our society and culture have become so complicated, so many gadgets, so many things that you have to have. For me, the kayak's stepping back in time a little bit. It's really you and your craft. In one phrase, it just represents simplicity.
With humble beginnings, a few kayaks, and permission to launch from a local dock, Ketchikan Kayak Company has grown into a full-service fleet of boats that take people from all over the world straight from the deck of their cruise ship to the wilds of Alaska.
We do kayak fishing tours out of Ketchikan and some remote trips also. Cruise ship passengers, people staying at lodges, independent travelers, cater to anyone. Take a lot of beginners, do a lot of teaching, instructing, get people into the sport that really aren't familiar with it.
But after a long tourist season, Howard puts away the touring boats and pulls out his fleet of ocean kayak fishing kayaks and puts together a very special trip open to any hardcore kayak angler looking for a real adventure.
It's a remote kayaking and fishing trip. Our primary purpose is to enjoy where we are and to fish as well. It's not all about just fishing and then the rest is over. You know, it's really about being here.
Catch a Can Kayak Company. Our website is Ketchikan Kayak Co., which is just co.com. So ketchakankayakco.com has information about all our trips, day trips, multi-day trips, and anything else we can do for you. Advice is always free, so don't be shy to call or email, even if you're not interested in the trip.
And so we return to the little island hidden somewhere far from civilization, where our three intrepid anglers have been sitting under a tarp, hiding from the pounding rain.
There's actually blue sky way that way. Even this is a nice break from the rain. We've had a couple days solid of just non-stop torrential rain.
Finally, on the second to last day of the trip, the clouds have dried up and the wind machine has been shut down. It's time to stretch their cramped legs and fish.
We've got a Kalen lead head at 6 ounces, or 8 ounces rather, glow body, a salvaged piece of gulp, because it's expensive, fabulous working stuff. We put a little bit on the hook above there, and then a stainless steel leader, because these fish have big, sharp teeth.
Yes, they do.
I'm giving Jim a head start, so the playing field's a little bit leveled.
Been camping for 5 days, trying to kayak fish. Had a lot of rough weather this trip, so finally last morning here we got a beautiful calm sea, no rain. This is what we dreamed of for several days, so we're just drifting offshore from our campsite. Spot we haven't really hit this week, just barely tapped on, so give it a shot for our final morning and see if we can get some of these big fish we've pulled out of here over the years this morning before we leave. Perfect keeping size. We'll let that guy swim.
That's right. That's right, guys. Took a while to find the fish. I think that was my second drop. I've got like a 30-pounder here, maybe more, and a giant one. Look at coming right up next to me. Come on. The one I had up was the biggest halibut I've ever caught. The one behind it was a lot bigger. So in order to give myself a constant trickle charge to my fish finder, I set up this Goal Zero solar panel, put the splitter on that, and it just plugs right into the battery receptacle female side on the Goal Zero. So it works really good. I'm really stoked with the fact that I've been able to keep my fish finder going all week. Started out with a full charge, and then it's basically kept it running all week.
Yeah!
Woo! Boy, that hook is just hanging in his mouth. So not a giant halibut, but not a bad one either. Yeah! This week we're in Alaska and we're targeting big halibut. If I'm going after big fish, I need good quality gear. That's why I've got the Akuma Makira 10 2-speed. If that fish is down there and I really need to pull on it, I got a 2-speed reel. My rod is an Akuma Makira 661 MH, medium heavy, plenty of pulling power, but soft enough when that fish starts shaking its head that you're not gonna snap the line. On my reel, I've got some Kansan 80-pound braid, and I'm gonna fill that all the way up. I don't need much of a leader on this, but I do need a good heavy leader, so I'm going with a 130-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon leader attached to my big Kalen's grub. But it just needs to be short. You just want to have some protection from those sharp teeth. That's what I'm using for halibut in Alaska. Check it out.
Stay tuned. When we come back, Jim and Brian are making dinner. We learn how to fillet halibut and make a camp meal that's sure to please. Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Scotty, Standard Horizon, Maui Jim, and Hook One Kayak Fishing Gear.
That is one of the really cool things about going up to Alaska, being on these trips, if you can get out fishing anyway, is you eat good. And not on this trip, but on a prior trip. I mean, we were eating halibut, spot prawns. We had set out traps for the spot prawns before we would go out fishing. So we'd drop those and we'd set out traps for the Dungeness crab. And then we'd go fishing. And then we'd come back and pull the traps. And so we had halibut, Dungeness crab, and spot prawns. And the only thing we were paying for was the beer. So it's absolutely amazing. And the variety of fish and the different rock fish that you can catch up there is just so cool. And some of them are so beautiful. If you ever have the chance, I mean, I highly recommend getting up there and going fishing. And don't just get into the, want to just catch halibut, because the halibut, of course, you want, because they're obviously great eating. Lingcod are such a cool fish, and they get massive. And then, like I said, all this variety of rockfish. It's just a great fishery up there. Actually, was there another comment here? Serge from Ottawa, another Canadian watching us here. Looks like there's one more. The bottom comments are always hidden. Jason Ricketts, how you doing, Jason? Thanks for joining us, man. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys who watch the show and who share it with your friends. Let's keep her going. Let's see what we're cooking. It must be the halibut. Sometime.
Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ex Officio and their new Soul Cool collection of shirts made with ice fill technology, which actually dissipates heat and provides a cooling effect. Check them out at exofficio.com. This week, Jim has been fishing with friends Howard McKim and Brian Oakland in Ketchikan, Alaska. Today, they've broken out the heavy tackle and huge grub lures in an effort to haul up some halibut.
With this rod, it looks more impressive. Oh! It's actually a little halibut. So, moved out to a spot, used the GPS to go to a spot that the guys who fished here last week told us about. And dropped down the little Lucanus jig and got myself a nice little halibut. This is a nice small one. And we were going to keep one fish a day for food. And for us, this is really the perfect size, nice little tiny one. I want to say, keep it in as good a condition as possible. So I want to cut the gills, get all the blood out of it. A nice small fish like this, we know it's not going to go to waste. And there's not much better than fresh halibut. So we're just going to fillet it up here. That's a nice sharp knife, and that helps. Nice thing about halibut is they're pretty easy to do, because there's lines on the fish that basically show you where to cut. And you can see those rib bones right there.
See how neatly you get all the way out to the thin line, almost no loss. They just go all the way out to the fin, and then you can leave it at the caudal peduncle or down at the bottom here.
Caudal peduncle.
Caudal peduncle is the small area between the body and the tail.
Yeah. And you always leave it attached here.
I do personally.
Yeah, it just makes it easier to skin it. Just put your knife in here, feel it get down to the skin. And that just glides right along the skin under the meat. Yeah, see right here, you can see it's a softer indentation is where the guts are. You don't want any of that, so. And then, as Brian just said, going out and doing the same.
You can see the spine right here.
Yep.
Easy to ride it.
And that's it, man. You have this beautiful piece of flesh.
We have
That makes me
some
hungry, man. Halibut is so
very
good.
Simple fish, some very simple pasta, some very simple red sauce. Although my version of simple is probably not as simple as everybody else's simple. So hey, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. Pasta, red sauce, vegetables.
One of the biggest fish ever caught off a kayak was a 183-pound Alaskan halibut by my good friend Howard McKim. These fish are hard fighters and they're great table fare. So we're going to give you some tips this week on how to target halibut. Halibut tend to be in areas that are a flat bottom, a flat sandy or hard bottom, near structure or next to drop-offs. Bring a fish finder to help you locate those spots. We've caught halibut in anywhere from 15 to 200 feet of water. You can catch them deeper, but if you catch them deeper, it's going to be a much tougher fight. So we tend to target the areas that we want in a little bit shallower water. When I'm targeting halibut, I generally will fish the Seaguar cans and braid because I like the sensitivity, but I can also get a much more powerful hook set. Attached to the end of that braid is a heavy Seaguar fluorocarbon leader. 100, 200, even 300-pound test. Just a nice, big, heavy fluorocarbon leader. These fish have big teeth, but it's also going to help them to not see the line. Halibut have a real habit of snapping your line because of the way their whole body flexes. So make sure you're fishing a little bit lighter drag than you normally would, say, for a tuna. You just fish a little bit lighter drag, so when that fish wants to turn or snap its head or run down, it can go. You may be in for a little bit longer fight, but you're not going to snap the line. Alaskan halibut, they get really big. So if you plan on bringing one up to the kayak, you better have a landing plan. Don't bring a 200-pound fish up to your boat and then go, oh no, what do I do? You should have this all figured out in advance. And quite honestly, you bring a 200-pound halibut up to your kayak, probably going to want to let that one go without even bringing it up on the boat. Well, I hope these tips are going to help you land more big halibut. But remember, please let the big ones go. Keep the smaller ones, those 20, 30 pounders. They're the best eating anyway. Until next time, I'm Jim Sammons, and that's your kayak fishing tip of the week.
For more tips and your chance to win a fantastic kayak fishing package that includes an Ocean Kayak Trident fishing kayak and ex officio clothing, visit kayakfishingshow.com.
Of course, that contest is not going
full of
on.
Fish and clothes finally dry, the guys head off to their tents. For tomorrow is their last chance to fish, and Howard has a special treat planned. Stay tuned as we go shrimping from kayaks and haul in a few more monster halibut.
Probably a couple 100 feet of line, way back down.
It's funny, I don't really remember doing the shrimping at this one. I don't think we did that well on the shrimp on this one. The first time I went there, we loaded up. I mean, on just big, beautiful spot prawns. Ate like kings.
Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Okuma Fishing Tackle. It's your day. Make the most of it with Okuma Fishing Tackle. Inspiring design meets stunning performance. Check out Okuma's full line of rods, reels, and fishing accessories at okumafishing.com. It's been a long week of remote camping in Alaska. Today, the winds are up on the far side of the island, but that isn't going to stop Howard from taking some shrimp pots out to soak.
Lots of people go shrimping in Alaska, but nobody seems to do it from a kayak, so we started from scratch. Basically, the key to the whole thing is a 2-speed fishing reel. So we've got Shimano TLD 2 speeds. You can push the button, get it in low gear, and you have much more torque against these things. Trick is, how did we get 3 or 4 lines 400 feet long on a kayak without getting any tangles or anything? So we put 100-pound braided Spectra, 375 feet sections. We got 3 sections connected to each other on one reel. So we start out with a barrel swivel, 375 feet of line, and then a regular fishing swivel that we're going to tie to the buoy.
While the pots are soaking, the water is calm on the inside of the island, so it's time to get one last fish in before they head home.
So we do a little bit different than the power boats do. So from the kayak, we really prefer a medium action rod. High-speed reel is good due to the depths that we're fishing.
Yeah, this fish just took probably a couple 100 feet of line, way back down. So
And the rain has started again.
Lure's not so specific. Anything that wiggles, if you can find the fish, I'm a firm believer that you'll hook into them if you present that bait to them.
After a few hours, Brian paddles his way to the traps and pulls them up.
Oh, getting ready to pull a shrimp pot. Conditions are absolutely fabulous. It's totally gorgeous. Wish I got up at 3:30 this morning, but I didn't. So we're gonna go pull a shrimp pot.
I don't see anything in there except stars.
Yeah, caught one.
Don't lose them, Howard. Don't lose the one.
It's a spot problem.
The haul was a bit short of a feast. It goes to show you just how awesome a fishery Alaska can be. With that, it's time to head in and pack up for the ride home.
Yeah, like I said, we didn't do well on him that time.
All over the world. And chances are, well, who am I kidding? It's almost guaranteed that it's going to rain at least one day a week. That's why I always bring along my Ex Officio Rain Logic jacket. The Rain Logic jacket features a 2.5 layer fabric that's fully seam sealed to offer lightweight rain protection. We're out paddling, so if it's raining, you still may get hot. This waterproof breathable jacket will keep you cool even when the sun's out. Other product details include hidden features like security zip pockets, armpit zits, and an adjustable hood. Because it's lightweight and easily packable, this jacket is my go-to travel clothing. You can see the entire line of outdoor clothing at exofficio.com.
The seas have built up since they arrived on the island, so Howard has called his friend Captain Bill Spencer to take them home in the boat. It's the end of the season for Howard and Brian, and time for them to pack up the massive amount of camping gear so that they can rest for a long winter. Behind them, the tide washes away the last signs that the crew was ever there.
We do. We spend a lot of time and energy making sure that the camp we set up is gonna leave no trace.
Next week on Ocean Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show, we head to the east coast of Costa Rica to introduce kayak fishing to a whole new audience. The Silver King Lodge has a reputation of being the best place in the world to catch the mighty tarpon, and Jim aims to prove that kayaks can do it better.
And all these roads.
That next episode, Silver King Lodge, craziest, amazingest tarpon fishing I've ever had. I got 11 tarpon in one day. Absolutely. I mean, this was one of those shoots where we had so many fish that we let Will fish, our cameraman. So, and he ended up catching some tarpon as well. It was just crazy. So, I had mentioned on one of my other pages, on our team page, actually, is to see why we were laughing in the photo. Let's see what this photo. So I'll drop myself out and it'll show. Maybe I will. Having some things that are maybe legal now that weren't legal then, and just going nuts and having fun, and like I said, making the slingshot and all that. But the reason we were laughing in that photo, and it was actually we Will had spotted because Will took the picture. We were all wearing the same rain jackets from Ex Officio, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden Will makes a comment or something. It's like, because the way we're all sitting, something about these rain jackets, when you sat down near your crotch, the rain jacket went whoop. So we're all sitting there, and we all look like we're happy to be there. And it's just like, when Will says it, we just like look down and look at each other and just like, just died laughing. And again, that might have just been funny because we were there and going stir crazy, sitting under a tent and by a fire for 3 days. But, you know, the funny things that happen when you're sitting around a fire. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. We will be back next Tuesday, I hope. Like I said, we are here every Tuesday and Thursday, and with more live episodes. I will be planning on getting stuff ready for iCast and meeting with more sponsors and maybe getting more sponsors on the show. Last year when I was at iCast, the plan was to do a lot of live stuff from iCast, but for some reason in the building, our signal was terrible, and none of my live stuff was going through. So hopefully it is better this year, and we can actually have a signal in there, and we can walk through, and when we see new products, we can show you that product live from iCast. But we got about a month before that happens. So anyway, again, I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you all for sharing our show with your friends and all your comments and thumbs up and all that fun stuff, and in joining in on the conversation, because that certainly makes it a lot more fun. So again, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you are going out on the water, please remember, always wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Y'all take care.
I'm going fishing. Woo!